नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले गुरुदास जयद्वैत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांतम स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramamsa Parivajikacharya Sutra Shata Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramamsa Parivajikacharya Sutra Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada Ki. Anant Koti Vaishravinda Ki. Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki. Jai Prem Se Kaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki. Jai Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhana Ki. Jai Shri Caitanya Caritamrta Ki. Jai. All glorious to assemble devotees, Hare Krishna. All glorious to assemble devotees, Hare Krishna. All glorious to assemble devotees, Hare Krishna. Nitya Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much for the lovely kirtan, Radhesha Prabhu, and all glories to the pujaris of Krishna Balaram, Iskon Mandir in Vrindavan. Welcome everyone to reading of Sri Caitanya Caritamrta with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami and friends. Today is Thursday, March 7th, and on the east coast of the United States. And I don't remember off the top of my head. I have it written here. The verse that we're on today. Actually, I don't have it written. Can somebody fill me in?
Is it Adi 122?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Adi 7:122. Okay, thank you. So we need to maneuver through some windows first. If somebody has the verse up, they can start. Actually, just give me one. My apologies for the delay. Harinama vade Ishwara hayena vikari etakahi vivartavada stapana yekari. Translation. According to Shankaracharya, by accepting the theory of the transformation of the energy of the Lord, one creates an illusion by indirectly accepting that the absolute truth is transformed. Purport. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur comments that if one does not clearly understand the meaning of parinamavada, or transformation of energy, one is sure to misunderstand the truth regarding this material cosmic manifestation and the living entities. In the Chandogya Upanishad 6.8.4, it is said, Sanmulaha somyema prajasad ayatana sat pratishtaha. The material world and the living entities are separate beings, and they are eternally true, not false. Shankaracharya, however, unnecessarily fearing that by parinamavada, transformation of energy, Brahman would be transformed, vikari, has imagined both the material world and the living entities to be false and to have no individuality. I'm sorry, I have to read that over again. Shankaracharya, however, unnecessarily fearing that by parinamavada, transformation of energy, Brahman would be transformed, vikari, has imagined both the material world and the living entities to be false and to have no individuality. By word jugglery, he has tried to prove that the individual identities of the living entities and the material world are illusory, and he has cited the examples of mistaking a rope for a snake or an oyster shell for gold. Thus, he has most abominably cheated people in general. The example of misunderstanding a rope to be a snake is mentioned in the Mandukya Upanishad, but it is meant to explain the error of identifying the body with the soul. since the soul is actually a spiritual particle, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Mamaivam so jiva loke, it is due to illusion, vivartavad, that a human being, like an animal, identifies the body with the self. This is a proper example of vivarta, or illusion. The verse atatvato nyata buddhir vivarta itya udaritya describes such an illusion. To not know actual facts and thus to mistake one thing for another, as, for example, to accept the body as oneself, is called vivartavad. Every conditioned living entity who considers the body to be the soul is deluded by this vivartavad. One can be attacked by this vivartavad philosophy when he forgets the inconceivable power of the omnipotent personality of Godhead. How the Supreme Personality of Godhead remains as he is, never changing.
Why don't we take that much just to begin?
Thank you. I was going to suggest that, and then I thought, well, it's not that much left, but yes. Okay, so Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I'm going to share some notes here from my husband who's still resting his voice. One can be attacked by this Vivartavada philosophy. Srila Prabhupada asked his leaders if they were convinced, since otherwise they wouldn't be able to preach. How can we, when presenting Krishna consciousness, not be swayed or bluffed or distracted by all sorts of cheating arguments like Vivartavada? Also, what is the test to see whether one is actually convinced? Srila Prabhupada presents a lengthy quote from Srila Jiva Goswami here. Those wishing to explore the Sandarbhas further can hear Gopi Pranadana Prabhu's Tattva Sandarbha classes. And if my husband can post the link to that, you can check it out at your leisure. Maharaj, please comment.
Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Shalakantika. Well, here's Shankara's problem. Parinamvad. Parinam, Prabhupada translates it here, transformation of energy. Strictly, it's just transformation, parinam. And our parinamvad is transformation of energy. That's the, when you unpack it, that's what we mean. But Shankara just sees parinam, transformation. And he has a problem with that because that means vikar, change. And the absolute truth is supposed to be changeless. So, parinam, if there's change in any aspect of the absolute or in any way, then we don't have the absolute anymore because the absolute never changes. And sarvakalavidam Brahma is everything. So, since Brahma is everything, there can't be change. So what to do about this? He introduces the idea of vivarta, vivartavad, the theory or theory of illusion. Actually, nothing changes. Nothing is ever transformed. There's no transformation that takes place in Brahman. Then how is it that we see transformation, we experience transformation? That's vivarta. It's all illusory. It's not real. It's only by illusion that these changes seem to be taking place, that the living entity seems to change, that anything seems to change, is only because of illusion. And when we're freed from that illusion, then there'll only be Brahma. We'll realize our identity is Brahma. We'll transcend all of these illusions of duality. And in this way, the changeless nature of Brahma will be preserved. So that's Shankar's approach to the matter. And the Prabhupada criticizes him, Bhaktivinoda Thakur criticizes him for essentially transplanting an argument or extending an argument meant for one thing to another thing. It's there in Shastra, these examples of mistaking a rope for a snake or mistaking an oyster shell to be gold. But he's taken it out of context. The Shastra doesn't use these examples to prove that everything is illusory, or that all change is illusory. They use it to underscore, to highlight a particular kind of illusion. That I'm thinking that I'm this body, when in fact I'm Atma, or spirit soul. That's the proper application of vivartavad, or illusion. We're not, we don't deny illusion, we don't refuse to recognize the influence of illusion, but we don't see the illusion to be that everything is really Brahma, everything else is false. That's not the Shastric conclusion. Conclusion is that, or the application is that this identification of the body with the soul, or the soul with the body, is false. So yes. All right, I think that's good enough so far.
Maharaj?
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that I thought about, and if I've heard something like this in Shastra, I don't remember exactly where, but I guess my understanding is that if the absolute is everything, then there is nothing to change, because everything, everywhere, past, present, and future is contained within the totality of the personality of Godhead, or within Brahman. So there's nothing to change. He just manifests different aspects of that totality, or we're only able to observe certain aspects of that totality because we're limited.
For Shankara, there's no contained within, there's no aspects of. There's only one indivisible absolute truth, without name, without form, without qualities, without dualities, without individuality. So we don't get, yes, that's his position. We're the ones who say, no, there's individuality. The absolute truth has variegated energies, prasya shaktir vividaiva shriyate, and it's the energies that are transformed. And therefore, Prabhupada correctly or pointedly translates Vivarta Parinamvad as the doctrine or the theory of transformation of energy. Yes.
Here's a comment in the chat. My husband says, how can we, when presenting Krishna consciousness, not be swayed or bluffed or distracted by all sorts of cheating arguments like Vivartavad?
Well, by knowing better, first of all, by seeing here the proper application of Vivartavad, and also by seeing the faults in Shankara's misapplication of Vivartavad. Prabhupada arms us quite well against the what's the word? The fallacies inherent in Shankara's misapplication of Vivartavad. And by knowing that we, especially the real problem, if everything is one, then where does illusion come from? That's a killer argument. And many other arguments that undercut Shankara's position. Murari says, would it be correct to think that Shankara, following the rise of Buddhism, didn't have to deal with many scholars of Vedanta and could cherry pick his references to make his points without much scholarly? I don't know that that's scholarly opposition. I don't know that that's correct. I've never heard that. I would have, yeah, I haven't heard that.
Shall we move on to the other part of the purport? Okay, Radhesha Prabhu, would you be able to read that last paragraph in the purport?
Sure. How the Supreme Personality of Godhead remains as he is, never changing, is explained in the Ishopanishad, Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate. God is complete. Even if a complete manifestation is taken away from him, he continues to be complete. The material creation is manifested by the energy of the Lord, but he is still the same person. His form, entourage, qualities, and so on never deteriorate. Srila Jiva Goswami in his Paramatma Sandarbha comments regarding the Vivartavada as follows. Under the spell of Vivartavada, one imagines the separate entities, namely the cosmic manifestation and the living entities, to be one with Brahman. This is due to complete ignorance regarding the actual fact. The absolute truth, or Parabrahman, is always one and always the same. He is completely free from all other conceptions of existence. He is completely free from false ego, for he is the full spiritual identity. It is absolutely impossible for him to be subjected to ignorance and fall under the spell of a misconception, Vivartavada. The absolute truth is beyond our conception. One must admit that he has unblemished qualities that he does not share with every living entity. He is never, let me read that again. One must admit that he has unblemished qualities that he does not share with every living entity. He is never tainted in the slightest degree by the flaws of ordinary living beings. Everyone must therefore understand the absolute truth to possess inconceivable potencies. I have nothing to say on the matter, but I'd love to hear from others.
Well, here's our answer to Shankara's position, that Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. So many varieties can emanate from Brahma, and still Brahma is not diminished, Brahma is not changed, Brahma is not affected. So yes, just see. And it's lovely to see Jiva Goswami. He turns this around really, because Vivartavad, Shankaracharya says Vivartavad means that you're seeing all these varieties, but it's really just illusion. Only by illusion are you seeing all these varieties. And Jiva Goswami turns it around and says, only under illusion are you imagining that there's oneness. Only under illusion are you imagining that there's absolute oneness between the living entities, the cosmic manifestation, the absolute truth. This is due to illusion or to ignorance. So this is sweet to see. Let's see if there's another point here I wanted to. Yeah. So this point, inconceivable potencies. This is the position of Krishna. Subhavaki Jnana Bala Kriyacha. He has inconceivable potencies that do everything needed.
There's comment or question in the chat from Saraswati Mataji. Do you have more to say, Maharaj, before we get to it?
No.
Okay. She says, pranams. Not sure if this is a digression, but I read that Ramachandra, right, I think she means Puri, who dared to instruct his guru, Madhavendra Puri, to focus on Brahman at the time of his death, was actually an impersonalist. How is that possible, as he is the disciple of the great Madhavendra, who was first guru in our sampradaya to experience conjugal rasa?
How is it possible that he could presume to instruct Madhavendra Puri? This is the kind of disciple he was. Not Ramchandra Puri, not Ramchandra Puri, Ramananda. Anyway, Ramachandra Puri, yes, not Ramananda Rai. So that's the kind of disciple he was, that his spiritual master was on the highest position of devotional service, and the disciple was on the position of impersonalism and presuming that he knew more than his guru.
So we go on to text 123.
Please.
Vastuta parinamavada se pramana dehyatma buddhi e vivartirasthana. Transformation of energy is a proven fact. It is the false bodily conception of the self that is an illusion. The jiva, or living entity, is a spiritual spark who is part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unfortunately, he thinks the body to be the self, and that misunderstanding is called vivarta, or acceptance of untruth to be truth. The body is not the self, but animals and foolish people think that it is. Vivarta, illusion, does not, however, denote a change in the identity of the spirit soul. It is the misconception that the body is the self that is an illusion. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not change when his external energy, consisting of the 8 gross and subtle material elements listed in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhume Rapo Nalo Vayu, etc., acts and reacts in different phases.
This is interesting here, that again, Vivarta being misapplied, the point is made here that when the living entity is affected by Vivarta, he doesn't change. He doesn't become something else. So the illusion is not that he's Brahman and he's appearing to be spirit soul. The illusion is that he's thinking that he's this body. There's no change in the identity of the spirit soul. The spirit soul is an individual living being. But the vivarta, the illusion is that he's thinking that he's this body. Whatever he's thinking, he's the same. He doesn't change. But by illusion, he's thinking he's something he's not. Okay.
Avichintiya Shakti. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I just was wondering something. For some reason, the principle of Occam's razor comes to mind, and I know we're not beholden to adhere to any such principle, but I wondered to myself if this idea that, we shouldn't, if you have competing theories, you should choose the simpler one. And it seems that rather than say, all the appearances that we observe are false, it seems simpler to say that these are all the energies of the Lord. And so it's validated by Occam's razor. Would you agree with that?
No, I don't think I would. Shankar can claim simplicity. It's really very simple. There's nothing but Brahma, and everything else is an illusion. Simple. Why bring in anything else? But we don't go by Occam's razor. We go by Shastra Praman. Shastra Praman says, no, there's varieties of energies. If the Shastra said something else, we'd accept something else. But this is what Vyasadeva is putting forward. This is what the Shastras, the Upanishads are saying. Vividaiva. There's variety, not that the varieties are a product of illusion. So we'll let Occam have his own territory outside of questions of Shastra.
Thank you.
Avichintya Shakti Yukta Shri Bhagavan Ichaya Jagad Rupe Paya Parinam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is opulent in all respects. Therefore, by his inconceivable energies, he has transformed the material cosmic manifestation. Chatapya Chintya Shakti Hoya Avikari Prakrita Chintamani Tahi Drishtanta Dhari. Using the example of a touchstone, which by its energy turns iron to gold, and yet remains the same, we can understand that although the Supreme Personality of Godhead transforms his innumerable energies, he remains unchanged. Nana Ratna Rashi hoy Chintamani haite Tatapi Hamani Rahi Swarupa Vikrite. Although a touchstone produces many varieties of valuable jewels, it nevertheless remains the same. It does not change its original form. Prakrita vastute yadi chintya shakti hai, Ishvarer chintya shakti ite kivismai. If there is such inconceivable potency in material objects, why should we not believe in the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? The argument of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu described in this verse can be very easily understood even by a common man if he simply thinks of the activities of the sun, which has been giving off unlimited amounts of heat and light since time immemorial, and yet has not even slightly decreased in power. Modern science believes that it is by sunshine that the entire cosmic manifestation is maintained, and actually one can see how the actions and reactions of sunshine maintain order throughout the universe. The growth of vegetables and even the rotation of the planets take place due to the heat and light of the sun. Sometimes, therefore, modern scientists consider the sun to be the original cause of creation, not knowing that the sun is only a medium, for it is also created by the supreme energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Aside from the sun and the touchstone, there are many other material things that transform their energy in different ways and yet remain as they are. It is not necessary, therefore, for the original cause, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to change due to these changes or transformations of his different energies. The falsity of Sripad Shankaracharya's explanation of Vivartavada and Parinamavada has been detected by the Vaishnavacharyas, especially Jiva Goswami, whose opinion is that actually Shankara did not understand the Vedanta Sutra. In Shankara's explanation of one sutra, Anandamayobhyasat, he has interpreted the affix mayat with such word jugglery that this very explanation proves that he had little knowledge of the Vedanta Sutra, but simply wanted to support his impersonalism through the aphorisms of the Vedanta philosophy. Actually, however, he failed to do so because he could not put forward strong arguments. In this connection, Srila Jiva Goswami cites the phrase Brahmapucham Pratishtha, which gives Vedic evidence that Brahman is the origin of everything. In explaining this verse, Sripad Shankaracharya interpreted various Sanskrit words in such a way that he implied, according to Jiva Goswami, that Vyasadeva had very little knowledge of higher logic. Such unscrupulous deviation from the real meaning of the Vedanta Sutra has created a class of men who by word jugglery try to derive various indirect meanings from the Vedic literatures, especially the Bhagavad Gita. One of them has even explained that the word Kurukshetra refers to the body. Such interpretations imply, however, that neither Lord Krishna nor Vyasadeva had a proper sense of word usage or etymological adjustment. They led one to assume that since Lord Krishna could not personally sense the meaning of what he was speaking, and Vyasadeva did not know the meaning of what he was writing, Lord Krishna left his book to be explained later by the Mayavadis. Such interpretations merely prove, however, that their proponents have very little philosophical sense. Instead of wasting... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
Just very quickly. This Dukhin Karnane, there's a lot of word jugglery in the Mayavadi approach to things. And Prabhupada particularly points out the misuse of the affix mayat. And he deals with that topic in the 87th chapter of Krishna book, the proper use and misuse of that affix. Okay.
Instead of...
Maharaj?
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, Jiva Goswami Srila Jiva Goswami is really taking Shankaracharya to task here, and I'm wondering, is he the first to really? I'm not remembering the history so well. Is he really the first to seriously refute? Because I'm just wondering, we've all had experience.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is already arguing against Mayavad. So it doesn't start with Jiva Goswami.
I guess I mean in terms of writing.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I mean in terms of written.
I don't know that he's first, but he stands out for his systematic treatment of these topics.
I'm trying to find the line that he says Shankara did not understand the Vedanta Sutra, and that seems pretty wild to me, to make such a statement, and obviously he's misinterpreting it, but we take it to be intentionally. And it seems that you couldn't misinterpret something intentionally unless you did know it.
No. You don't understand something, so we see that all the time. People don't understand something, so they start winging it. They start coming up with interpretations. I remember we have that purport in Bhagavad Gita as it is, second chapter, about the what was it?
This realization is made possible by the fruit of being situated in the fixed conception of the real self.
Yes, exactly that. An expression that a sentence that makes no sense whatsoever. And then in the class, devotees would sometimes ask for an explanation. What does Prabhupada mean here? And so they would start explaining it. They'd start explaining. They didn't understand it. No one understood it because it's wrong and it doesn't make sense. But devotees called upon to explain it would sometimes explain it. So yes, it is possible to offer explanations, even when we don't know what we're talking about.
Yes, I agree. We've all seen examples of that, I guess, but because our position is that Shankaracharya is an incarnation of Lord Shiva, and he was purposely, given the mandate to present this. So
yeah, these things are being looked at from different angles.
Yeah.
From one point of view, he perfectly knew everything that he was doing, and from another point of view, when he's in action, you say, well, he didn't really understand it, otherwise he couldn't have written this way.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of wasting one's time falsely deriving such indirect meanings from the Vedanta Sutra and other Vedic literatures, one should accept the words of these books as they are. In presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is, therefore, we have not changed the meaning of the original words. Similarly, if one studies the Vedanta Sutra as it is, without whimsical and capricious adulteration, one can understand the Vedanta Sutra very easily. Srila Vyasadeva therefore explains the Vedanta Sutra beginning from the first sutra, Janmadyasya Yataha, in his Srimad-Bhagavatam. Janmadyasya Yatondayaditaratascharateshva bhigyasvarat. I meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, that the transcendent reality, who is the primeval cause of all causes, from whom all manifested universes arise, in whom they dwell, and by whom they are destroyed. I meditate upon that eternally effulgent Lord who is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations and yet is fully independent. The Supreme Personality of Godhead knows very well how to do everything perfectly. He is abhigya, always fully conscious. The Lord therefore says in the Bhagavad Gita that he knows everything, past, present, and future, but that no one but a devotee knows him as he is. Therefore, the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, is at least partially understood by devotees of the Lord. But the Mayavadi philosophers, who unnecessarily speculate to understand the absolute truth, simply waste their time.
Good, thank you. There's a comment in the chat, Maharaj.
Yeah, let's see. Saraswati says, Ramchandra Puri, impersonalist, believe we're one with the Supreme, we're equal at every stage. It's not exactly like this, that because he thought we're one at every stage, therefore we're equal and there's no need to worship the Guru because no hierarchy exists. He's just polluted. He's tinged with impersonalism, and he's tinged with this sense that he's so advanced that he could instruct his spiritual master. So there may be a relationship that the impersonalism contributed to the false pride, or they may simply be coexisting. There's no indication one way or the other, but that's his position. His consciousness is polluted. But yeah, I'm a blowhard. He's falsely proud. And of course, impersonalism is also a kind of false pride, but it's not like systematic. There's no indication, at least in the text, that it's systematic. It's not said that because he thought that everything was one. Therefore, he was equally identical to the Guru and didn't need to worship the Guru because there's no hierarchy. That point isn't made. He's just a fool. Fools can think anything and say anything.
It's also a comment from Devi's child.
Devi's child, yes. Let's see. But the sun has a lifespan. When the necessary fuel is exhausted, it explodes and transforms into other forms. Yeah, therefore, this is the nature of material examples. Prabhupada's giving us an example from science so that we can relate to it. But yes, you can poke a hole in the argument and say, no, the sun's not unchangeable. The sun is also transformed by putting out all this energy. And that may be so, scientifically speaking, but we have to pick up the right understanding that the point that Prabhupada's making. It's not, won't help us to pull apart the material side of the example. We should just try to get the point. Saraswati said he was criticizing devotees, committing offenses. Did that make him an impersonalist? That can certainly do that. Or again, the other way around, because he's an impersonalist, he didn't know how to value devotees. There's no indication in the text one way or the other about the structure of his consciousness, his misunderstandings and polluted consciousness. He's just a mess, that's all. Does the soul have a form? Yes, the soul has a form. Krishna has a form, so we also have form. But that form is covered by illusion, by material, because of our material misidentification. That form is covered by the illusory energy since time immemorial.
Another comment from Devi's child. He says, I heard this, but I heard the soul is smaller than the tip of our hair.
That doesn't mean you can't have form. It can be small. It has a small form.
We can also expand.
That also. At the present moment, we're expanded in terms of the material energy. So we have these bodies. And in the spiritual world, we expand in terms of the spiritual energy. So you get manifest a spiritual body. But but in the spiritual world, there's no difference between the body and soul. Here, there's a difference. And generally, the form is regarded as similar to the human form in the spiritual world. No one can take any form that might be helpful for the service of Krishna. That's explained in Jayadvaita Swami. Even one can change forms in the spiritual world just for the service of Krishna. That's also there, Jayadvaita Swami. But still, the living being has his eternal form, but he assumes this or that shape, just for Krishna's pleasure.
Maharaj? So my question is that if we have an eternal form, then that would sort of invalidate the idea that we were never with Krishna prior to our being in the material world.
Yeah, there's that whole topic
And,
for those who go into it.
And my question also is that given that we are similar to Krishna but limited and subordinate, then this idea of changing forms, would that mean that we have, as Krishna contains a multiplicity of forms within his single personality, does that mean that we would also contain a multiplicity of forms? Or because would we change if we're similar to Krishna in that respect? Would we change if we change forms? Where are those other forms coming from? Are we actually transforming, or are they contained within us?
We're thinking in terms of containers and all of that sort of stuff. The spiritual world may not be organized in terms of containers, but the living being has the capability to appear this form, that form, according to what
Devi's child asks, what would be the difference in the form of male and female spiritual bodies?
You don't know? And what's the difference between a tree and a cow in the spiritual world and a bull in the spiritual world? Everyone knows. It's not difficult to ascertain. Sometimes it's said that someone is an incarnation of two different people. How can that exist? Yeah. These things are possible, again, spiritually. Someone may embody the qualities of two different people, the energy of two different people, or represent two different people. How exactly it works? Have to do it and then we'll see.
So he says, because I heard only is male, Krishna is the only male, all others are female. I'm assuming that's what he means.
Yeah. They may have male or female forms, but ultimately Krishna is the supreme predominator and everyone else is predominated. That's true also. Just like here in terms of material energy, there are male and female forms, but Krishna is the supreme predominator. I may be male or female in terms of form, but really I'm servant of Krishna. I'm subordinate to Krishna, and Krishna is the only ultimate enjoyer, ultimate controller. Well, in the spiritual world, same thing. They may have male form, female form, but in terms of the spiritual energy, not the material energy. And still, Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. Everyone is subordinate to Krishna.
Yes. Why does the spirit body have different sexes?
To please Krishna in different ways. Why different sexes? There are different species of life, different sexes, different ages, different this, different that. Everyone's appearing differently. So to give service to Krishna in different ways. Cowherd boys will serve Krishna in one way, Yashodamaya will serve Krishna in another way.
He follows up, if one doesn't want to serve only as a friend, will he be male? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it doesn't. There's so many ways. Nanda Maharaj is not in a friendly relationship with Krishna. His form is male. So again, whatever form will be most conducive to devotional service. Servants of Krishna, Raktak Patrak. They have male forms, but they're not friends, they're servants. Whatever is most conducive to Krishna's pleasure. Like kirtan, for example. I think time has come for kirtan.
Marish, is there someone in the room with you that would want to lead kirtan?
There's no one.
Oh, it looks like it looks from my perspective like you're speaking to someone.
I have two monitors at the moment. One of them is somewhat damaged, and the other one is the one I'm looking at. One has the camera, the other has the image.
So, Dana Mataji, would you like to lead the closing kirtan?
Sure. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai. Thank you.
Jayam Vishnu Bhagavad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Stotra Sata Shri Srimade Si Bhakti Vedanta Swami Raj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Radha Kunti Gurudhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mahi Ki Jai Jamuna Mahi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you, Dana, for the kirtan. And Maharaj, or anybody who was in class yesterday or the day before that, is just wondering if he's all right. I know he has some health difficulties.
Who?
Krishna Konteya Prabhu.
Oh,
He's not been in class, so I'm just wondering if he's okay.
I don't know. I haven't heard anything.
Okay. I don't have any way of finding out, so asking here if anyone does, maybe they could check up on him. All right, well, thank you so much, Maharaj, and thank you to all of you for joining us for Sri Caitanya Caritamrta reading with His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj and friends. Sri Caitanya Caritamrta Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj Ki Jai.
Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande.
Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Radhesha. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Maharaj.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Dana.